Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Hello, everybody. Ooh, look at this. We can do that. What? I'm still learning stuff about this thing. Let's do this here. Oh, man. So we can do polls here, too? Who knew? And there we go. We got a poll now, too. I had no idea we could do polls. So I don't know where the chat room is for you guys, but we got a chat room someplace here. And that way, in the thing, there's a poll going on right now. I'm not even sure how to... Oh, there we go. We got, right now, Magic Kingdom's at 100% of the votes. Oh, yeah. Hello, Frank fam. How you doing? I'm just really liking all this. We spent so much time on StreamYard. I think it's time. Oh, whoa. Disney's Animal Kingdom's pulling ahead. 67% of the votes. Now we're tied. 50% of the votes for Magic Kingdom, 50% for Animal Kingdom. Hola. How you doing, Eric? The only thing I don't like right now about broadcasting from YouTube is the fact that I like having the comments pop up. I like having it so you guys can have your names right here, like we did on the other thing. I have to figure that out too. So we're still learning, but I'm kind of really liking this. It's a lot easier on my end. I don't know how it is on your end, but for what people have been saying so far, it seems like it's been running smoother on this compared to how it used to be. But yeah, go all through. I don't know where the poll's at. Is it over here or is it down here? I don't know. On my side, it's over here. But, answer the whole question too. What's the best Walt Disney World park? Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disney's Hollywood Studios, or Disney's Animal Kingdom? Right now, there's been 4 votes. No votes for Epcot or Hollywood Studios yet. It is a tie between Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom. So no more Facebook. Right now, I'm thinking, so Facebook has been a huge hassle for me on broadcasting for years. And the main reason we've been doing it is because there have been a few people still doing it, winding down in there. But the reason that there has been such a lag is because Facebook has not been really updating their streaming stuff. So it's been affecting all the Wednesday shows lately. So that's why when we've been having a lot of issues in the past, that's the main reason why. So I don't think we're going to be going for Facebook anymore. You also have to understand, for the people who have been here for what has been almost 16, it'll be 16 years next month. Holy cow. The Wednesday show could drive next month. We have gone on so many different streaming platforms throughout the years. We've done Justin TV. We did StreamYard. We did something Ustream. Ustream was the first one that we had. So it's kind of crazy. So hopefully this is working out well right now. We did Facebook for a while, and Facebook was acting up. So then we went to something else, and then someone told me about StreamYard, so we were doing that, and now YouTube, I think, is hopefully it's working well for everyone. Okay, but let's get this party started. We are going to start what number is this? I had it written down, and now I don't even see it. I'm still trying to figure all this stuff out, people. 829th episode of the Wednesday show. We're going to start it in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 829th episode of the Wednesday show. Today is July 9th, 2025, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Today we're going to be going through and talking about Disney with you guys, but of course, before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. First off, thank you everyone out there who's been joining us for our Saturday in the Park. You didn't already know, every single Saturday we do a live broadcast from someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. You never know where we'll be coming to you from, but I promise you we will always be coming to you live from Disney. With that being said, this Saturday we will have a Saturday in the Park. However, the following Saturday after that, we will not. we will not actually be in town. So next Wednesday show is going to be a shortened version along with the Wednesday show the week after. So if you have joined us in the past for our special episodes up in Wisconsin, we always do it Ask the Expert because I only have a limited time with my family. So we still do a show. It's just a shortened down show. So make sure you still join us next Wednesday, but it's going to be a shorter show. But over the next week or next 2 weeks, make sure you start to think about what questions you have about anything and everything Disney. With that in mind, I would also like to remind you that tonight's episode is sponsored by our Patreon pals. Thank you to our Patreon pals out there. If you are one of our Patreon pals and you are in the chat room right now, give us an oh yeah. I never even thought about this too. But if you're watching afterwards and you're a Patreon pal, type in the comments too. Oh yeah. I truly appreciate all of our Patreon pals out there. Thank you so much for being Patreon pals. And of course, tonight we're going to be going through and having a special episode of the Wednesday show chosen by you. So I'm going to give you guys 3 options before we finish up. One last thing with the news, because we got another thing that's kind of big for the news, not completely big, but don't get too excited. So here are going to be your 3 options for this evening's episode. Number 1, we can do a hey, take a hike. We're going to walk around and do a take a hike segment of a specific land someplace in the Walt Disney World Resort. Number 2 is we can go through and do a deep dive on a Disney attraction. Or number 3, we can play a little game of connect the dots. Start throwing your votes into the comments right now. While you guys start throwing your votes into the comments, I would like to let you guys know. So this past week has been a chaotic week. Actually, I finally was able to get sleep yesterday and today, and it was really, really, really nice. Like, I cannot even stress how nice it was to finally get some sleep. However, if you were following me on Instagram or you were watching some of my videos on here, then you may have known that this was a very emotional week for me and a lot of other Disney fans. But this week kicked my behind. So this week saw the closing of my beloved Tom Sawyer Island. I absolutely love Tom Sawyer Island. I always have. I always will. But with that being said, we've got this book that came out back in 2019. So 6 years ago. Actually, it's almost 6 years to the day. My book, A Closer Look at the Magic Kingdom's Frontierland, came out. Now, this book was available digitally over on Kindle for about, I think it was like $6, $7, somewhere around there. And today I have lowered the price down. So this is no longer available on there for $7, but you can now get it for $2.99. The main reason being that if you go through this book, it's kind of now just a history book, because in here we go through things like the Frontierland Shooting Arcade, which is closed. We go through the original Country Bear Jamboree, which is now remodeled to the Country Bear Musical Jamboree. We go through things like Splash Mountain, which is now Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We go through Tom Sawyer Island, which obviously just closed up this week, and then Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is going through a massive refurb. The only 2 things in this book that are probably still relevant is the pin store along with the Pecos Bill restaurant. So there's a lot of history in here, a lot of fun facts. Honestly, between all 5 of the books that I've written, this is my second favorite book that I've ever written. I just love the details in here. And even though a lot of the stuff is no longer around, it's still cool to look back at the history and see how things were. So due to the fact that now most of the land is gone, you can now get this book for $3 on your Kindle starting today. So if you're interested, go check that out over on Amazon.com. While you're doing all your other Prime deals, you can also get a really cool little book. It is, how long is it? 130 pages long. So I love this book. I really do. And I just love Tom Sawyer Island. I love the cover too. This was drawn by a kid that I grew, or I was going to say kid, he just got married. He got married last year. But a kid that we used to babysit for it was a family friend, still a family friend, still love the kid. But he drew this when he was in high school. He asked me if he could draw a cover of one of my books, and I said, yeah, definitely. And so he was actually the one who drew this cover. So Overall, really, really cool. And I really, really enjoy all the different details that are actually found inside this book. Okay, so let's go to the vote. Again, if you guys are going through, we only have 2 votes right now, so maybe that's the vote that I should have done instead of doing this poll of what's the best Walt Disney World park. We should have had it so you guys were voting for the episode. That would have been a lot smarter. Let's see. Well, we'll do that maybe next time we have you guys choose the thing, because that might make things a little bit more interesting. And now that I think about it, could we? Okay, wait a minute. Can we end this poll and then start a new poll? Oh, look at that. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Which one? Okay, we're going to give you guys 1 minute. Okay, deep dive, take a hike, or connect the dots. Can this work? Oh, yes, it can. Holy cow. Go through, vote. Which one do you guys want to have tonight's episode be about? Do you want to have it so it's a deep dive? Do you want to have it so it is a take a hike or connect the dots? What? We'll give you guys 1 minute. It'll be a single minute of throwing in the votes here. Look at that. That is so cool that we can do this. You can throw in your votes without anyone else knowing what it is. Right now we got 4 votes down. Take a hike is currently in the lead, and you guys still have about 30 seconds left to throw your votes in there. I kind of like this. I'm not gonna lie, we did not have this available on the other thing. Take a hike is pulled to a further lead. You still have 20 seconds to throw your votes in. Oh my gosh, how cool is this? This is really cool. And then we can throw another vote to figure out which land you guys want. Oh, okay. You got 4, 3, 2, 1. And as you can see there, our poll is complete. Take a hike is going to be our topic of conversation tonight. And let's do one last poll. Now, you guys had it so Magic Kingdom was the top one. So we're going to put down which land would you like? Fantasyland, Frontierland, since we've talked a lot about Frontierland over the last few weeks here. May as well continue the trend. Or let's throw that one in there. Okay, final poll. You guys have 1 minute to throw your votes in there. We have which land would you like? Fantasyland, Frontierland, or Adventureland? Whichever one has the most votes after 1 minute, that will be our topic of conversation for this evening of doing a take a hike through one of these lands. I really like the fact that we can just put polls into the chat room. What? Actually, this is really cool. I really like it. And you know what? By doing it this way, so when we start getting to our next bracket series, I haven't decided when we're going to start it yet, but when we get into our next bracket series, what's kind of interesting about it is if we did it this way, no one would know who's voting for what, and the Frank fam would probably have it so their entire relationship would not be in shambles because we're pitting them against each other all the time. And you got 5 seconds left here. 4, 3, 2, 1, and it looks like our winner is gonna be Fantasyland. Okay, let's go through, and tonight we're gonna do a take a hike through Fantasyland. Now, we have gone through and taken a hike through Fantasyland before, but as always, we're going to talk about some different things that we may have not talked about in the past. In addition to that, if you are new to our Take a Hike segments, number one, Take a Hike, one of my favorite segments that we do. I say that about pretty much every segment we do, but Take a Hike is without a doubt one of my favorite segments that we always do here on the show. So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be literally taking a hike throughout the entire land. We're going to start off at Cinderella Castle today. We're going to be going through and doing a walk all around the entire area while pointing out different details about every attraction, every shop, and every restaurant along the way. And also, in addition to all that fun stuff, if you guys have any questions out there, you start throwing those questions in there. Oh, excuse me. And I will try my best to watch the comments below and have it so if you guys are asking something about, say, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, we can go through and be like, hey, by the way, we had a question about Winnie the Pooh. Here's your question. Let's answer it. So we are not going to be going into each specific area and going into a lot of detail because that would be a deep dive on that specific attraction. However, with the Take a Hike, we're going to be going through, pointing out fun facts, hidden Mickeys, history lessons, and so much more. And let's get our party started right in the center of the Magic Kingdom itself with Cinderella Castle. Cinderella Castle, the tallest structure in the world. That's not true at all. But Cinderella Castle is in the heart and center of the Magic Kingdom, being the central icon of the entire park. Now, there are a few different things that I want to point out about Cinderella Castle before we actually start going through Cinderella Castle. Number one, the castle is very tall, especially if you've ever been to Disneyland. If you went to Disneyland first and then you went to the Magic Kingdom, you'd be like, oh, now that's a castle. Opposed to Disneyland, you'd be like, where's it at? Is that it over there? You can never even see where it is at all. So when they were creating Walt Disney World, specifically the Magic Kingdom, they were going through and they said that one of the things they wanted to do was make the castle more iconic. They wanted to have it so it was going to be larger and having it so when you are walking down Main Street, USA, you would be able to see it way off in the distance and it would draw you in. In fact, actually, while you're going down Main Street, USA, we're kind of taking a hike down Main Street, USA here as well. When you're going down Main Street, USA, the hill or the street is actually slightly slanted upward for two reasons. One, to slow down the people who are running off to Magic Kingdom or to Cinderella Castle. And two, when you're leaving Cinderella Castle and heading off to the end of the day and you're extremely tired, it is slanted downward to kind of help drag you along down Main Street, USA out of the park. Now, when you are standing in front of Cinderella Castle, there are a lot of different details that you can find at Cinderella Castle. I just said Cinderella Castle like 100 times in the last minute. But a few different things that I always like to point out before you actually enter inside. Number one is going to be the crest that is found above the castle. Is it on here? It is not on here. It's a little bit lower than this page. So there is a crest that is found here. This is going to be the Disney family crest. You can also find this family crest on Sleeping Beauty Castle over in Disneyland. You can find it at Sleeping Beauty Castle over in Disneyland Paris. You can find it at Cinderella Castle over in Tokyo. You can find it on the Enchanted Dream Castle in Hong Kong. You can also find it at the main castle over in Shanghai Disney. Every single one of the Disney parks around the world has the Disney family crest on there. In addition to that, why can't you walk under the castle? You can. Matt, did you not walk under the castle at all? So there are times where you can't walk through the castle, mainly due to the fact that there's like the stage shows going on, and that's where all the characters prepare for the stage shows is right there. Actually, that's kind of a perfect segue. Let's start walking through the castle. Actually, before we do that, there's one more thing that I would like to point out at the castle. Again, it's not on here, but above the family crest, you can actually find a clock here. If you look at the clock, you will notice that number 1 is the letter I for Roman numeral 1. Number 2 is II. Number 3 is III. Captain. And number 4 is III. And I know what you're thinking. But in Roman numerals, it's IV. And which is true. That's also the way that people, like inject people at the hospital. But we're not talking about those types of IVs. We're talking about the Roman numeral IVs. And why on earth is it not found here at Sleeping Beauty, not Sleeping, because Cinderella Castle? Mainly due to the fact that the III form of the Roman numerals for number 4 was used up until roughly the 1700s, sometimes early 1800s, depending on where in the world you were. So because of this, the IV was not a common form of the Roman numerals in ancient European times around the time when we are at Fantasyland, aka in the 1600s, which is a perfect time for us to start transitioning through the castle. Now, we are walking through the castle. There are going to be 2 doors on the right hand side as you walk in. The first door is going to be the green room for the castle stage show. So if you are going through and want to walk through the stage show, walk through the castle, but the stage show is about to start, it's mainly due to the fact that all the characters are hanging out in this green room area. Number 2 is our second door, and the second door is going to be a door which leads to the Cinderella Castle Suites. And I know what you're thinking. Can you tell us a little bit about the Cinderella Castle Suites? Of course we can. So when you're going into the Cinderella Castle Suite, when you first walk in, there is a little desk there. Behind the desk, there is a grandfather clock. The grandfather clock is always sitting at the time of 11:59. No, it's not broken. It is showing that our happily ever after is still going on. It's a about to be over, but at the same time, when you are here inside the castle suite, you're happily ever after, and the magic is still alive. If you go to the right-hand side while facing the clock, there is an elevator. The elevator will take you almost to the top of the castle. And when you walk into the area, there's like a glass slipper there's a glass slipper in a cage. And on the ground, you can actually find a little mosaic on the ground of Cinderella's pumpkin coach. This will take you into the dream suite. And on the right-hand side, we've got two beds. Above them is the letters C, and above the other one is the letter C. This is for Charming and Cinderella. And then if you turn around the corner, there's going to be another room that looks out to both Liberty Square area and Fantasyland. Now, if you look at the windows that are found on these, or the little pictures that are found on these windows, they have 6 different icons on it that help tell the story of Cinderella from left to right if you're inside, but from right to left if you're outside looking up at the windows. These are the house, the Lady Tremaine house, showing the start of our thing. Then the second one is the invitation to the ball. The third one is the pumpkin coach. The fourth one is going to be the key. No, the clock striking minute. Then it's the key where Jock and Gus carrying it up. And the last one is going to be the Cinderella Castle itself, showing the story from start to finish. Now we're going to go downstairs to the lower level and continue walking through, because on our left-hand side, while walking through from Main Street, USA, we've got all the lovely mosaics on there. Here is 5 different pictures that tell the story of Cinderella. A few different details that I like to point out to people as well is if you look here, you can see that Anastasia's face is red with anger and Drizella's is green with envy. As we continue going through the castle, we're going to get to a few different things that lead us into the magical world of Fantasyland. On our left-hand side, we're going to have the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. On the right-hand side, we're going to have Sir Mickey's. We're going to focus more on Sir Mickey's right now. We'll kind of touch on Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique as we go through, but this is just to take a hike. We're just doing a little tour of the area instead of going into a deep dive about each specific thing. So when you're at Sir Mickey's, there is a storyline that's going on that doesn't just cover one film, but it actually covers 2. Now, a lot of people will go through and say, oh, yeah, if you go to Sir Mickey's, it tells the story of Mickey and the Beanstalk from Fun and Fancy Free. And I don't know why people talk like that, but apparently they do when they talk about this. So that is partially true, but that is not the complete story that is being told in this area. And there's a few things why it is not completely done with that. It's not just that, but it's also the Brave Little Tailor. The Brave Little Tailor was a Mickey Mouse cartoon that came out in the 1930s that focused on Mickey Mouse being a brave little tailor. And he was a little tailor that had to go off and fight a giant. And in doing so, he would win the hand of marriage with the Princess Minnie. It was a very lovely cartoon, amazing cartoon. If you've never seen it, it actually is one of my favorite Mickey Mouse cartoons of all time. But that's not what we're going to focus on. So while you're actually going through here, yes, you will see things like the Beanstalk going through from Fun and Fancy Free's Mickey and the Beanstalk. But in addition to that, if you look in the window on the outside that's facing away towards Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, you can see that inside there is a bunch of different tailor things, including a little mannequin body and a bunch of different drawings of what kind of clothes he's going to make. And then also scissors, rulers, a bunch of different things that a tailor would use. In addition to that, if you go to the very back corner of the restaurant, you can find Princess Minnie there. Now, Minnie was a princess in the Brave Little Tailor, and Minnie did not exist in Mickey and the Beanstalk. So that is another way that we know that these are 2 different short cartoons that are being represented. One final thing about Mickey and the Beanstalk before we move on to Princess Fairy Tale Hall is if you are in the window that is facing towards the castle, you can find a bunch of different things referencing Merlin from The Sword and the Stone. This actually was originally Merlin's Magic Shop. That was the name of the shop for years and years and years, and then it became Mickey's Christmas Carol based off of the 1983 short cartoon, and then eventually it became Mickey's what's it called? literally we're just talking about Sir Mickey's. As we exit out, we're going to make our way over towards the Princess Fairy Tale Hall. Now, on the Princess Fairy Tale Hall, we're not going to go inside. Well, we're going to take a quick little step inside. But outside, there is 12, or I'm sorry, not 12. There's 11 different shields that can be found along the border all 11 of these things pay tribute to a different Disney princess. When I say different Disney princess, I mean the 11 official Disney princesses when this area opened up. Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking, Anna and Elsa aren't on there. That is completely true, because Anna and Elsa, yes, even though they are princesses in the films, by the end they are queens, so they have never been actual Disney princesses. In order to become an actual Disney princess, there is a coronation for Disney to do to make that princess an actual princess. I was lucky enough to attend the one for Merida. It took place in front of Cinderella Castle, and was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. But if you look at the 12 shields or 11 shields, there are things like an apple for Snow White. There is a seashell for Ariel. In addition to that, we've got some feathers and leaves blowing in the wind for Pocahontas and the colors of the wind. And then we got a little dragon for Mulan in the form of Mushu. We got a glass slipper for Cinderella. I didn't think we were going to go through all of them, but it looks like we might be going through all of them. You've got a book for Belle. You've got who am I missing here? A spinning wheel for Aurora. You've got a magic lamp for Jasmine. And who are the ones I'm missing? Because I did not expect to go through all of them, but apparently we're trying to go through all of them. Oh, you got a lily pad for Princess Tiana, and I know we're missing at least one. Oh, we're the sun for Rapunzel. I think that's all of them, but I may have missed one. If I missed the princess, let me know, and I'll tell you what. There's a bow and arrow for Merida. I think that's all of them. Oh, wait, so if you actually go inside there, one of the details that I do like to point out to people when you're inside in the line is on the left-hand side, there is a portrait of Princess Tiana. Behind her, you can find two fireflies. One of them is obviously Rey. The other one is a firefly that we never see in the film. It is actually Evangeline in firefly form as a nod to his love for Evangeline, who is a star throughout the film, but then he becomes a star as well. Okay, we're going to continue walking through Fantasyland. Our next stop is going to be, let's go to, we're taking right. Let's go to, we'll go to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was an opening thing that came out in 2014. When it opened up in 2014, it took the place of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea spot, and actually after that it was Pooh's Playful spot, and then it became the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. There's a few different details that I went on to point out to you in the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train before we continue taking our hike throughout Fantasyland. Number one, what am I hitting? Number one, when you're actually in the queue line for it, there's those barrels that you can spin. There's one for every single one of the dwarfs. There is Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Sneezy, Bashful, and Dopey. If you spin the barrels, the dwarf pops up on the top. However, if all 7 barrels are spinning and all 7 dwarfs are popping up at the top at the same time, Snow White will appear in between all of them. Yay! Also, while you're in the queue, right after the barrels, if you look at the rockwork found in that area, you can actually find the carvings of the names of all 7 dwarfs scattered around in the mine. Also, in addition to that, let's talk about what I think is one of the coolest hidden Mickeys found in the Magic Kingdom, along with a hidden Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. When you're getting to the very top of the second lift hill, at the very top of it, you will be able to find a carving of Mickey as a miner on the right-hand side. When I say a miner, I don't mean like a young kid. I mean like a hi-ho miner. And then on the left-hand side, you can find Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and he is facing this way with his ears going behind him. Okay, let's exit out of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and continue going through. On our right-hand side, we've got the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, along with the 100-Acre Goods. Now, the 100-Acre Goods was originally one of the spots where Mr. Toad's Wild Ride sat, including with the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. It was a double whammy when both of them, they both took over. But I do like the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Inside the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, because it did take over for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, while you're going through Owl's house on the left-hand side, we can find a picture of Mr. Toad handing the deed to the house and the attraction over to Owl. And then on the bottom ground on the right-hand side, you can find Molly, along with Winnie the Pooh there, sharing a pot of honey in front of Winnie the Pooh's tree. Continuing down our path is going to be the Mad Tea Party. Now, the Mad Tea Party is taking us merrily, merrily, merrily on our way to nowhere in particular. No, It's not. I just missed Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Up here we've got, why is Seven Dwarfs always busy? I think Seven Dwarfs is just always busy. It's just such a popular ride. I mean, it's part thrill, part story, and I think just a lot of people really truly love it. It's a good question. And the thing is, I think it's because there's not as many cars on the track as you would think, so the load takes a little bit longer than I think people are expecting it to. So here we have the Manatee Party. Now, a few different things that we're going to point out about the Manatee Party is, number one, in the middle, we get the teapot with the dormouse sticking out. If you ever read my first book, From Screen to Theme, there is a single mistake in that book, and it drives me crazy to this day that I misspoke when I put it down. I said that the dormouse was the only character that never appeared in the original Alice in Wonderland books by Lewis Carroll. That's incorrect. It was the doorknob, not the dormouse. So I do apologize to those people who are reading the book from 15 years ago on whether or not you're like, oh, how could he lie to us? I apologize. I misspoke in the book, and I truly, truly am sorry. In addition to that, one of the cool things about the Manatee Party found here compared to the one that's found over in Disneyland, which is the original one, is above you, there is shade. And the reason there's shade is because out in Disneyland, there is not as much rain as there is in Disney World. So when they were building the Walt Disney World version, they said, hey, you know what? It storms a lot in Florida. It would probably be best to have it so we've got a little covering overhead so people don't get wet if they ever want to go on the Manatee Party. Plus, it would probably take forever to empty out all those saucers of water. So let's continue going from the Manatee Party up to Storybook Circus, which is technically part of the one and only Fantasyland. Our first stop on the right-hand side is going to be Dumbo the Flying Elephant. Now, there's a few different things that we could point out about Dumbo, but my first one that I would like to point out is the fact that Timothy Mouse on the attraction says that Dumbo is the 8th wonder of the world. This is going to be one of 2 places in Walt Disney World where something is referred to as the 8th wonder of the world. The other one is also found at the Magic Kingdom in Adventureland, where we have the backside of water on the Jungle Cruise is considered the 8th wonder of the world, but so is Dumbo the Flying Elephant. So I think Disney needs to try to have it so the people in Dumbo and the Jungle Cruise get together and figure out which one's the 8th one and which one's the 9th one. If you go inside of the circus tent, on the wall that is with like the, you know, those little puzzles where you're like, you move the little things around. They're always at doctor's offices, like, you know, like little kid doctor's offices, but I push the kids out of the way so I can play with them. If you look at the thing, there are 7 different clowns on that picture, and some of them might look familiar to you. And if they do, well, they should, because there was a little band that was called the Firehouse 5+2 that used to be in Disneyland. So when Disneyland was first opening up, Walt Disney said, you know what I want to do is I want to have it so we have all these different musical acts and a bunch of different things for people to come through and they can experience and they can enjoy all the wonders of Disneyland with all different types of musical acts. And one of the things he did was he got a bunch of people who worked in the animation department, and he said, hey, if you know how to play an instrument and want to form a band, we're going to put a band in Disneyland starring you guys. And so 7 people came forward. They called themselves the Firehouse 5+2. And here on this little picture where you can, you know, do the little puzzle thing, that is them in clown form. Leaving Dumbo the Flying Elephant and hanging a right, going over towards the Barnstormer. The Barnstormer is the only attraction that actually lasted from Mickey's Toontown Fair and made its way over here. Now, the Barnstormer, of course, originally was a ride that went through the barn, hence the Barnstormer. Now it is just a roller coaster, but it's still a really cool roller coaster. One of my favorite things to point out to people who have been on it, both in the old days and the current days, is if you went to the old ones, there was a sign on the backside of the barn for Wiseacre Farms. That was the name of the farm that Goofy was flying through. If you go to the opening sign of the Barnstormer, it says on one side, the Barnstormer, starring the great Goofini. But if you look at the back side of it, you can actually find those planks of wood from the original attraction on it. And if you reorganize those pieces of wood, it actually would spell Wiseacre Farms as a nod to the original attraction. In the middle of this section of New Fantasyland or Storybook Circus, we've got Casey Jr.'s coming down the track on the only track, Casey Jr. track. This is going to be obviously from Dumbo, not, the attraction around the corner, but this is going to be Casey Jr. was in the movie Dumbo. If you look at the back side of all four cars here, each one of them has a different number on it. One of them is 71, one's 82, one's 89, and one is 98. These are nods to the 4 years that the Walt Disney World parks opened up. If you go up the stairs going towards Pete Silly's Sideshow, you'll find 2 more train cars there. One of them has 55 on it as a nod to Disneyland, and the other one has 34 on it. 34 is weird because there's no parks that open up in 1934. However, that is the year that Donald Duck made his debut, so it might be a nod to him. If you go up to Pete Silly's Sideshow, on the left-hand side there, we've got the spiffy little music box there. It is made by Melody Time. Melody Time was the name of a Disney film that came out back in the 1940s. It was one of the package films, and of course, that is a nod to that. In addition to that, it does say Toot, Whistle, Plunk, and Boom. And the Toot, Whistle, Plunk, and Boom was a short cartoon that came out in 1953 that Disney did, which was a great cartoon if you've never seen it. Going around the corner there, we do have the storybook snacks inside of this giant tent. One, we no longer have the coolest carpet that ever existed. There was a massive flood in there, but they didn't tell anyone about it. But I knew someone who worked there, and that's how I found out. But if you look above the different areas, you can find different rare characters, including Humphrey the Bear, who starred in several different short cartoons back in the 1950s and 1960s, mainly with Professor, what was his name? Auburn Woodlore. Woodlore? I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. And sometimes Donald Duck would be in the cartoons as well. After we exit out of this area, we're going to take a right going towards the backside of New Fantasyland. Now on our left-hand side, we've got a DVC booth. If you look at the DVC booth, it says there's a cartographer office with H. Goff being the person there. H. Goff is a reference to Harper Goff, one of the people who created the original maps for Disneyland. Also, if you ever went to Tom Sawyer Island, the name of the red mill was Harper's Mill as a nod also to Harper Goff. On our right-hand side, we've got the Little Mermaid meet and greet area. Now, if you actually walk through the lightning lane section there, right before you get to the merge point on the right-hand side, there is a little bit of a carving with a little bit of rock work kind of being indented. It's actually a hidden Prince Eric that is found here. It's kind of far-fetched, but one of my friends is a manager over there, and he told me about it, and he said, hey, you want to go check this out sometime? And I was like, oh, yeah, let's do that. That's how we talk to each other. And I was like, yeah, let's go do it. So he brought me over there. He pointed it out, and I was like, yeah, I can see where people are seeing it, but I'm okay. So there is a hidden Eric. When we continue going over to the Little Mermaid attraction, there's another hidden character, which I think is one of the coolest hidden characters found anywhere in all of Walt Disney World. It is going to be another hidden Mickey, but this hidden Mickey is going to be a hidden Steamboat Willie. If you go up to it, it is near the exit of the attraction. There are 4 different rocks that actually form up the hidden Mickey. One of them is his bottom right shoe. Another one's his bottom left shoe, along with part of his leg and his pants. And then you get to his torso, along with part of his head. And then you get to a hat, and then his arms are sticking out along the rockwork. It is a 3-dimensional. You have to be looking at it the exact right way. And it's one of the coolest hidden Mickeys that anyone's ever seen, but most people have never seen it. Another really cool hidden Mickey is actually found in the queue line for the Little Mermaid while you're going through there. Only on November 18th of every year at noon does this hidden Mickey show up. The fact that someone took the time to figure out how to make this one work blows my mind still to this day. But while you're going through, you'll have the game where you point at the different crabs. And it is a game where if you point at the crabs pick up the stuff that they're next to and they walk away with it. And then when you get to the next part, you see Scuttle while you're in the queue line. And he's like, oh, you guys picked up some cool stuff for us. Whatever you are actually pointing at in the line, that's what the crabs are actually bringing out on that pre-show. I don't think people ever really pay attention to it. And it kind of drives me crazy a little bit, but that's just how it is sometimes. But when you get past the first and second crab, there is rock work with like an opening. When the sun comes through on November 18th at noon, There is a piece of rockwork that forms the bottom part of Mickey's head, and there's another one that forms his ears. And when the sun comes through, only on November 18th, only at noon, it lines up perfectly to cast a shadow of a hidden Mickey on the wall. And it's the coolest hidden Mickey. I just absolutely love it. And it only shows up on November 18th, which is Mickey Mouse's birthday, at noon. So if you're ever in Magic Kingdom on November 18th and it's like 11:30, you're like, I know I gotta go. Trust me, it's totally worth checking it out. After you go through there, after Little Mermaid, we're going to continue going down. On the right-hand side, we got Maurice's popcorn machine. If you ever watched the movie Beauty and the Beast from 1991, you probably remember at the very start of the film, Maurice is going off to the fair, and he's got this elaborate machine that he's being pulled behind the horse Philippe. This popcorn machine is the exact same thing that he was pulling behind him in the film, even though the one in the film was made for chopping wood. It obviously did not work out well, but it did cause him to start a business where he can sell popcorn instead. After going past Maurice's popcorn machine, on the right-hand side, we got Bonjour Village Gifts. Bonjour Village Gifts is, of course, modeled after the bookshop that is found inside of Beauty and the Beast. I can't remember who it was, and I apologize if it was you out there. One of my friends brought it up to me not that long ago. They're like, hey, you know the bookshop? And I was like, it's not a bookshop. And I'm like, oh, well, I've never actually gone inside. I'm like, what? So anyways, if you go into the back part of this, you can find a picture of a guy like this. This is Phil Holmes. He is the former vice president of the Magic Kingdom. However, he was the vice president of the Magic Kingdom when the Fantasyland expansion was going on. So there's a few different things inside of this picture that you can need to pay attention to really get the whole story. Number one is in front of him, there is a book that is open, and this book has a map of the Magic Kingdom prior to the entire expansion. Number two, there are a few different details of different characters that are inside the park, like Aladdin's Magic Lamp. You also have a apple there as a nod to the Seven Dwarfs attraction ride. And there's one more that I'm just drawing a blank on right now. After exiting out of the shop, if you go to the left-hand side of it while facing the front of it, you can find the little door. A lot of people always ask what this little door is. This door is a wine cellar. So back in the times of when Beauty and the Beast would have been taking place, there was these little wine cellars, and they would actually transport wine through this to make it easier for them to transport it from the outside world, well, outside to the inside. I don't know why I said the outside world to the inside world. Across from this, we've got the restrooms. If you look to the right-hand side of the restrooms, you can find some bubblers or drinking fountains, as most people in the world call them, but I call them bubbler because I'm from Wisconsin. If you go to the bubblers and they look familiar, well, there's a good reason why. Because if you ever watch Beauty and the Beast, at the start of it, we've got the three Babettes going, look there he goes, isn't he dreamy? Monsieur Gaston, oh, he's so cute. And they're sitting there next to the water pump in the town. This is a remodel of that water pump that is found in the film. Next to this area, we've got Gaston's Tavern. Inside of Gaston's Tavern, as soon as you walk in, on the right-hand side, we've got a portrait there. If you take a look at this portrait, you might be like, I think I've seen this before. Well, again, if you've seen Beauty and the Beast, you have seen this, because this is the exact layout of the hill that Maurice goes over at the very start of the film when he is heading off to the fair. In addition to that, if you take a look around the back portion of the order area, you can find things for LeFou's Brew, because obviously that's the main thing that's served here. In addition to that, you got things like Tras Brunettes, which is Rubio's. I can't remember the exact phrase of it, but it translates from French into the three blondes as a nod to the three blonde ladies who are completely in love with Gaston. After you exit out of that area and you hang a right, we continue going down across the bridge, and on our right-hand side, we've got the Beast Castle in the form of the Be Our Guest restaurant. Now, the Be Our Guest restaurant has a lot of really cool details, but keeping in fact that we're going through and doing a take a hike segment right here. We're not going to go into too much stuff, but I would like to point out a few different details inside. Number one, when you're in the main dining area and you take a look up, you can find all the little angel babies there. They might look a little bit older than they did in the film. There's a reason behind this. These are actually the faces of the Imagineers and their kids that worked on the Be Our Guest restaurant. Number 2 fun fact: if you go into the through the main dining area and enter into the room on the right hand side, in the middle of that entire room is a music box of Belle and Beast. This is going to be very important because our next stop is going to be next door at Enchanted Tales with Belle. Now, in Enchanted Tales with Belle, we first go into Maurice's cottage, and when we're inside of Maurice's cottage, there's a few different things, obviously, that we got to take a look at. Number 1 is, if you take a look on the right-hand wall, you can actually find all of the different little lines with numbers next to it. This is a nod to most people who grow up and they, put little lines on the wall for how tall their kids are with each year. So if you look at this, you will be able to figure out how tall Belle was when she was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 years old. There is a book on the counter that is in French. However, if you were to translate it from French into English, it would read Sleeping Beauty. This is also going to be one of the books that Belle is reading in the film. When you go into the next room, you go into Maurice's workshop, and if you look around, there's a lot of different details. However, there is one detail that is very interesting because you can see the paperwork and a little model on the shelf for a music box featuring Belle and Beast. And yes, it is the same music box that we will eventually find over at the Be Our Guest restaurant. After you exit out of Enchanted Tales with Belle and we take it right, we are going to go through the castle gates. And when we're going through the castle gates, I think it's very important for us to talk a little bit about the transition from the one part of Fantasyland into the other part of Fantasyland. So everything that is found inside the castle walls, aka everything from Cinderella Castle to these castle gates, all the way over to the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, all the way to Sleeping Beauty, or not Sleeping Beauty, it's a Small World. I don't know, I said Sleeping Beauty. Small World and Peter Pan. This is all inside the castle. Everything else is in the wilderness of Fantasyland, or the forest of Fantasyland. At one point, instead of calling it New Fantasyland, there were concept art saying that it was going to be Fantasyland Forest, which would have been kind of cool too. So when you go through the gates, we're going to have the carousel right in front of us. Now the carousel is going to be the oldest living thing. Well, not living thing, but it's the oldest attraction that is found anywhere in the Walt Disney Resort. It was created by the New Jersey Toboggan Company way back in 1912, and there are still, I think it's 8 of the horses from the original carousel are still found on this carousel to this very day. Actually, when I was on my college program, I worked in Fantasyland, but I was custodian, but I became friends with a lot of the cast members who worked attractions, and I remember there was this one day where a person decided to use one of the legs to get up on the horse instead of using the steps that are provided. And when they did that, they knocked the leg off, and all the cast members started freaking out because they thought it was one of the original ones. And it ends up it was next to one of the original ones and not one of the original ones. However, let's talk a little bit about some of the horses here. There is only 2 horses on here that actually have a backstory. They were actually created originally by a fan, and then Disney liked the story so much that they actually adopted it. So if you are looking at the second row in, you can find that one of the horses has purple flowers all around its neck. In addition to that, there is a gold ribbon on the tail. This is now known as Cinderella's horse. Still, sometimes if you talk to cast members, they're like, it's not official, but in reality, it's kind of official now. So if you go through and look at it, this is Cinderella's horse, and the horse to the right of it would be the horse of Prince Charming. Now, still to this day, if you would go to a wedding, the bride is always on the left and the groom is always on the right. And that was the same thing during medieval times. But if you were a person of royalty, instead of walking down the aisle, you would actually ride down the aisle on horses together. And this is a little nod to that. Also, let's talk about the name change, because this used to be known as Cinderella's Golden Carousel. Now it's known as Prince Charming's Real Carousel. There is this elaborate storyline about the fact that Prince Charming used to go off and he had this little mechanical horse that he would try to figure out how to joust things with. So he would be out there in the woods practicing on this jousting thing, and all the kids of the kingdom found him one day out there, and they loved it so much they asked if he could have rides as well. So they started going on rides, and he decided that maybe instead of having them all kind of ruining his jousting time, he would create another one and place it in the center of the courtyard for all the local children to play on. And that's how it became Prince Charming's Regal Carousel. Next to Prince Charming's Regal Carousel, we've got Mickey's PhilharMagic, which opened up back in 2003. Now, Mickey's PhilharMagic did take the place of the Lion King show, and prior to the Lion King show, it was Mickey Mouse Revue. And actually, there was a few different things in between them too, but that's besides the point. If you are going through the queue line of Mickey's PhilharMagic, there are still a few different nods to some of the old attractions like Mickey Mouse Revue that you can still find to this very day. Number one, if you go through, you can find a poster for the 3 Caballeros. 3 of the animatronics that were found in Mickey Mouse Revue were the 3 Caballeros. You can also find a poster for the Big Bad Wolf and the 3 Little Pigs. Again, all 4 of these characters were found in the Mickey Mouse Revue. You can also find a little nod to Minnie Mouse, who donated the thing. Magic Journeys was there too. I apologize. Magic Journeys was one of the things, and also Working for Peanuts. Now we've got all of them out of the way. It was Mickey Mouse Revue, and then it was Magic Journeys, Working for Peanuts. It wasn't Festival Lion King. What was it called? The Legend of the Lion King, and now we have Mickey Mouse Revue. I apologize, Ashley. Let's continue. So, while you're going through, on the right-hand side, you can find a thing that says something down the lines of Minnie Mouse being the chairman of the board for the theater. This is also a nod to her being the chairman of the board at the theater when it was the Mickey Mouse Revue too. Now, across the way from Mickey's PhilharMagic, we have Pinocchio Village House. Pinocchio Village House has several different rooms. If you go through all these different rooms, you'll notice that not one of them is the Pinocchio room. But instead, we have all the different characters, with Pinocchio being a central person that was connected to every single character in the film. So we've got a Monstro room, we've got a Geppetto room, we've got a Figaro room, we've got a Cleo room, we've got a Jiminy Cricket room, we've got a Blue Fairy room, and we got a Lampic room, and we got a Honest John and Gideon and Fellow room, and a Coachman room. So all the different rooms have different themes of the different characters that Pinocchio goes through and interacts with. Also, complete side note, this is not really dealing with our tour, but it does deal with Pinocchio. I find it fascinating that if you go through the movie of Pinocchio, the amount of people who are heroes with names equals the exact same amount of people who are villains with names. So you got Pinocchio, Geppetto, Cleo, Figaro, Jiminy Cricket, and the Blue Fairy, six heroes. But then on the other side, we got Stromboli, we got Gideon, Fellow, Lampic, Monster of the Whale, and the Coachman. 6 characters. It's literally half villains and half heroes, which has always blown my mind. Okay, so as you know, on the right-hand side, we got It's a Small World After All. Now, while you go through It's a Small World, there are going to be 7 different suns throughout the entire area. Now, the 7 different suns represent the fact that every single room is a different continent. So while you're going through, you go through all 7 continents, and every single one of them has a sun. Just as the lyrics say, there is just one moon and one golden sun. Now, prior to this, there actually used to be 8 suns. If you remember the old loading area, before they added the clock tower, they added the clock tower in, what was it, 2006? 2005? 2005. They added the clock tower in the middle of the room. Prior to that, they used to have a massive sun in the middle of the room, and it just kind of overshadowed everything. And then they got rid of that, and they put the clock tower in there, which I'm happy they put the clock tower in there because it's a better looking thing than the other one. But as you're going through, you'll go through every single one of the continents, and there is one doll that is actually a nod to Mary Blair. So when you're going into the first room on the right-hand side, you'll have the Eiffel Tower there, and hanging underneath the Eiffel Tower is the only doll that has glasses and has, it's not the only one with blonde hair, but it's the only one with glasses and blonde hair. And Mary Blair, who is the head designer of the attraction, also had blonde hair and glasses. So this is actually a nod to her. Across the way, we've got Peter Pan's Flight. Now, Peter Pan's Flight is, like, without a doubt, one of the most popular attractions found anywhere in Walt Disney World. However, there are 2 things that I always like to point out that are a mistake, and they're actually coexist with one another. So while you're going over the streets of London and you take a look down and you see all the traffic down there, this is not very historically accurate, because at the time of 1901, when Peter Pan's Flight would have taken place, there was not that much traffic in London. Not many cars existed. If you're looking at how fast they're going to, zoom, 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 they're going insanely fast for cars in 1901. Number two, if you're taking a look at the traffic patterns, you will notice that all of the cars are driving on the right side of the street opposed to the left-hand side of the street, which is where they would actually be driving in London. Continuing out of there, on our left-hand side as we're walking through, you will see a massive picture of a deer. Not a massive, but there's a picture of a deer up there. And if you listen closely, you will hear bum 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 ba ba bum 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 bum, and you're like, what on earth? How on earth are these two things connected? Well, it makes perfect sense on how they're connected. So sit with me for a second. So if you take a look at the picture, you might be thinking, Bambi, but no, it's actually Alps. So if you were going to the Magic Kingdom from 1971 all the way up until 1998, there was an attraction that used to be able to take right in this area that was called the Skyway to Tomorrowland, or if you were boarding in Tomorrowland, the Skyway to Fantasyland. And the Skyway bucket had it so it was kind of themed around the Alps with this music that was playing that would also be found over in Disneyland near the Matterhorn. So the idea of connecting the two of them was pretty obvious. And the final little touch that they did was they added this picture of a deer, because it's the exact same picture of a deer that they have right across from the Matterhorn over in Disneyland. So it's not a reference to Bambi, but it's actually a reference to the Matterhorn. Across from the deer, we got some bathrooms that are pretty amazing. This bathroom is going to be themed around the 2010 film Tangled, and I've never been inside the women's room. However, let me explain to you what I've been told is inside the women's room. There's girls in there. No, I'm assuming there's girls in there too. But if you take a look, apparently there's shelves up there, and all the different shelves have different items. And if you go through and piece the items together, it actually talks about every single thing that Rapunzel sings in 7 a.m., the usual morning lineup. And it's every single thing that she talks about that she does throughout the day is up on these shelves. If you go into the men's room, I've been in there multiple times, it is themed around the guards of the kingdom of Corona, which is where the Tangled lives. But if you go inside there, the stalls for the horses, because they're the king's men, the stalls are actually the stalls where people would do their business. That if you look on the wall, there's all the different weapons, and no, they're not swords, they are frying pans. Who knew, right? As you exit out of this, there is an easy way to get over towards Liberty Square, which is taking a right there. However, that's too easy for us. Instead, we're going to go up towards Peter Pan and then take a right, going through the main entrance into Liberty Square that was around since 1971, because we have to talk about my favorite transition throughout the entire Magic Kingdom / entire Walt Disney World Resort. Now, while you are walking towards Liberty Square, there's like a little breezeway above you, but before you get to that, you'll see an entrance to the Columbia Harbor House on the left-hand side. If you take a look here, you will see a little gold statue above the entrance that's got a bird, and in the bird's mouth is a fish. Seems pretty basic, but okay. There's not much else there. You see a sign that says Columbia Harbor House, and then just some pictures of what is inside. It's basic, it's simple. Okay. Now, the interesting thing here is the Columbia Harbor House is the only restaurant in Walt Disney World or any Disney park, as far as I can think of. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that right now. But it's the only restaurant that can be found in 2 different lands. Even though it's technically part of Liberty Square, part of it is technically inside of Fantasyland. Actually, if you go inside of Columbia Harbor House, it has a rule to the exception of there being no restrooms in Liberty Square. That is a true thing. They decided to have no restrooms in Liberty Square. In fact, if you go in Columbia Harbor House, the restrooms are only on the Fantasyland side of the restaurant. If you go into Liberty Tree Tavern, the restrooms are technically far enough back to be part of Adventureland. So those are not technically part of Liberty Square either, but that's beside the point right now. So when you are going from Fantasyland into Liberty Square, you see the Columbia Harbor House, and then you're walking underneath that breezeway. While you're walking underneath that breezeway, 2 different things are happening. 1, you are transporting through time, and 2, you are transporting across the ocean. So when you're going from Columbia Harbor House in Fantasyland, you're going from one harbor and you're boarding a boat and going underneath the breezeway. And the next thing you see on the other side is Columbia Harbor House, because you have now traveled from one harbor in Europe to a different harbor in America. Now, to make this thing even crazier is we are transporting through time. So, like I said earlier, while we are inside of Fantasyland, we are somewhere roughly in like the 1600s, 1700s, 1500s, somewhere around that part. When you are in Columbia Harbor House over on the Fantasyland side, you've got a picture of a chicken and you've got a picture of a fish. Because most people during these times did not know how to read. So the only way they would be able to go to a restaurant and figure out what was inside is by pictures. Oh, they've got chicken here. They got fish here. But if they said chicken or fish, 95% of the people had no idea how to read. So it would be lost on them. They would say, okay, I don't know what that means. Let's go someplace else. However, when you go to the side on Liberty Square, now most people know how to read. They've been educated. They know how to read. So the first thing you will see is the sign for Columbia Harbor House. And underneath it says chicken, fish, sandwiches, letting people know what's inside through words instead of pictures, because it is a different time period than the time period that we were before. And that, my friends, is our very quick hike through Fantasyland. All right, let's go through. We'll take like 5 minutes to answer any of your questions out there if you guys have any questions. We also did not do this tonight. Where is our... $8,743 was our starting number here. We usually start with it, and I completely forgot to do it. Okay, anyone have any questions out there, or we will be wrapping this take a hike segment up? I need to take a water. Do you think they'll ever add Disney characters to our small world like they have in Disneyland? I feel like they might. So our both the Walt Disney World and the Disneyland versions of Small World on the 17th of this month are going to be receiving the last verse. And if you don't know what the last verse is, shortly before Richard Sherman passed away last year was 2 years ago now. I don't know, time's flying by. Shortly before he passed away, he went to Bob Iger and he said, I have written a final verse for It's a Small World. And it was still in tune of Small World, and it was beautiful. It's amazing. If you've never seen it yet, make sure to go check it out because it's a really, really well done. And they announced about a month ago that the last verse was now going to be coming to Disneyland, and they just announced 2 days ago that will also be coming to Disney World on the same day. So the last room of It's a Small World will now have this last verse as well. I kind of feel like I need to go on Small World over the next day or two to go through and like film it with the original one and then go through the next one. If you could bring an attraction from another Disney park to Parks Fantasyland, what would you bring over and where would it go? Ooh, that's a good question. First off, before I even answer that, I would like to say that one of my ideas for a Fantasyland attraction, which if an Imagineer is watching this and they want to take it, wait. Before I even get to that, Frank's Fam, yes, I think I can see them adding the characters to Small World sometime in the near future. They just added all the group ones to Tokyo Disney's Small World, so I feel like we might be getting something soon. I don't know if we will or not. Personally, I love the addition of the characters because it's subtle enough that it doesn't take away from the rest of the ride, but it's also cool enough that when you go on, it's like, oh, there's one. Oh, there's one. I think it makes the attraction much more interesting. If you were an Imagineer who is watching this show either right now or later on, and you're trying to figure out exactly what to do, here's an idea for you for Fantasyland that I've dreamt of for years. And that is, I think there should be an interactive ride in Fantasyland that's kind of like Buzz Lightyear, but instead it's you with Robin Hood doing an archery contest throughout Nottingham and Sherwood Forest. I think that would be the coolest attraction if they had something like that, where like they could easily do the technology that they have at Buzz Lightyear, but have it so instead of pushing a button, it would be like Toy Story Mania, where you're pulling back a drawstring, but the drawstring is like in a bow and arrow. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know if they'd ever do it. Now, if I could bring back a current attraction from a Fantasyland around the world, there. I don't even know why I'm thinking about this. Casey Jr. from Disneyland. That is the great. I love Casey Jr. in Disneyland. It's one of my favorite attractions, and I would love nothing more than to have Casey Jr. in Fantasyland over here as well. It's just that in Storybook Storybook Canal Boat. Storybook Canal Boats is amazing, but I just love Casey Jr. If they brought both of them over, I would be the happiest person in the world. I would be on those all the time. Two of the attractions I go on, actually, let's look. I wonder how many times I went on, because I've been to Disneyland this year. I only did Casey Jr. once this year. And let's see, Storybook Canal Boats, where are you at? I only did that one once too. Oh, we got to get back over there. We'll be going there pretty soon. But you bring back Alice in Wonderland. I do like the Alice in Wonderland attraction. I think that one's fun. I would love to bring back Mr. Toad. I do like Pinocchio's Daring Journey. I know a lot of people don't, but I actually really like Pinocchio's Daring Journey. What's it? I'm trying to think of the ones that were in Disneyland Paris that were unique. I really like their teacups were really cool. Like just the decorations above were really cool. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to place the map of Disneyland Paris. Oh, they had the Storybook Canal Boats there. But yeah, if they could put Storybook, if they could put Casey Jr., I would put it someplace in Storybook Circus. Matt, you would bring Seven Dwarfs Mine Train to Disneyland. That'd be cool. That'd actually be really cool over there. Okay, but I think we're going to be wrapping up our episode right here. So as always, thank you everyone for joining us. Tonight's episode was sponsored by our Patreon pals. I don't know why I keep on going to that one. It's not my favorite one of all. If you're going to our Patreon pals out in the chat room right now, give us an ooh yeah. But thank you everyone out there for joining us once again this week. Please keep on spreading the word about the Wednesday show and my YouTube channel. Invite all of your friends over. We're getting closer and closer to 9,000 subscribers. Would love to hit it by the end of this month. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but send a friend or two, or 200 and something, because we're 200 and something away. And hopefully we'll hit 9,000 by the end of the month. If you want a copy of A Closer Look at the Magic Kingdom's Frontierland, now on Kindle for only $3, go check it out over on Amazon and order your copy today. But as always, thank you everyone out there for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks just can't stand this kind of pressure.